as an AI ethicist, can you give me a broad understanding of what the ethics of AI are and how they apply towards today and how they might apply towards the future?
Sure. So the term AI ethics has come to mean very broadly this set of issues, harms, thing, things that can go wrong, let's say, with AI technology. So it's really quite vast. And the way I like to think of it is in three kind of camps or buckets. So the first thing that I usually talk about is data, because it's something that's very concrete. People kind of understand what is data. And when it comes to data, as I've mentioned to you, you need a lot of it to train an AI system. So where are we getting this data? Where are we collecting this data? That's one of the issues. That starts to intersect with things like privacy and our right to retain our privacy as individuals. It starts to intersect with things like consent. So for example, when it comes to online forms, we've all encountered these long, complicated terms and conditions. Nobody really reads these things because they're just so convoluted and long. And so we just click on the box and we say we accept the terms and conditions. Well, that's not really consent. So that's one of the issues, is that we can't necessarily fully consent to participate in some of these systems. At the same time, these systems are so far-reaching and so all-encompassing that we need them to participate in modern society. So in a weird way, we can't even really push back and say no and not consent to using these systems. So there's this whole issue around privacy, consent, where the data comes from. And the issue of repurposing data is a big one for AI systems. Just to give you one example of that, there's a company called Clearview AI, and how they got all of their data, which they used for purposes of training AI that was used in law enforcement, is that they scraped the internet. So these are people's family photos. These are things you posted on Facebook. And people had no idea that this was going on until it was brought to light. And it wound up in court, and it wound up being said that, this wasn't what people had expected their data was going to be used for. And so there were, some sanctions against Clearview. But this is the kind of thing that's going on when it comes to even just getting the amount of data. So that's kind of one issue. The next issue has to do with the design choices in the technology itself. So this is what we really unpack in the models course. And we talk a lot about the different types of AI models that are out there. Some of them, for example, are not very explainable, and that really starts to intersect with this ethical principle of transparency and autonomy. So if you really can't explain the type of model that you have, even for the person who's designing the model, they can't explain it. How can someone have autonomy in that situation? They're not able to really understand and make good choices. So that's kind of another issue is how the models themselves are designed. And then kind of wrapping all of that up is this idea of people, power, and agenda setting. So when it comes to looking at how these technologies are used, for what purposes, who gets to define how they're used, who's in control, who has power, who's being harmed by these technologies, the power imbalances in how these things are deployed, all of that level of society, let's say, is kind of wrapped up in this conversation around AI ethics too. So just to kind of sum it up, data, models, and people are three of the buckets that I use to think about when I think about the topic of AI ethics.